In the quiet, picturesque town of Elderton, the most scandalous events typically involve disputes over garden gnomes or gossip about the mayor's new hat. However, the tranquil routine was shattered when mysterious letters began to appear in the mailboxes of the town's most prominent citizens. These letters, written in an elegant yet sinister hand, contained veiled threats and cryptic clues. What began as a curiosity soon escalated into fear and eventually tragedy. It all started when Mayor Beatrice Pemberton received an ominous letter. The letter hinted at dark secrets from her past and warned that more revelations would follow. Disturbed but dismissive, she tucked the letter away, believing it to be a prank. Little did she know, similar letters were being delivered to other townsfolk. The local doctor, the schoolteacher, the librarian, and the owner of the general store. As more letters surfaced, panic began to spread. Each recipient, initially silent out of fear or shame, realized they were not alone in their plight. The letters, though personalized, had one thing in common. They alluded to a past indiscretion and threatened to expose the secrets if the recipients did not meet certain demands. The demands ranged from financial payments to public confessions of their sins. Among the gathered was Professor Detective Augustus Gus Hawthorne, who was visiting Elderton for an academic conference and meeting with fellow educators in the town. One night, when he was visiting a local pub with another professor friend, he heard hush whispers about the letters that were going around town. He struck up a conversation with the pub owner, who invited him to a clandestine meeting by the townsfolk in the basement of the church, where they reluctantly shared their letters. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Gus took charge of the investigation. The first death came as a shock. Dr. Whitfield, the beloved town physician, was found dead in his office. A letter lay open on his desk, its contents filled with accusations and threats. The autopsy revealed he had been poisoned. The town was in an uproar, and the pressure on Gus intensified. Gus examined the letter carefully. It was written on fine parchment, the ink a distinctive shade of blue. There were no fingerprints, and the paper was devoid of any distinguishing marks that could lead to the author. Gus decided to re-interview each letter recipient, hoping to find a connection or a clue. As Gus delved deeper into the lives of the letter recipients, he uncovered a web of connections to all who received the letters. Mayor Pemberton, Dr. Whitfield the town physician, Dr. Eliza Lilly the town veterinarian, the schoolteacher Miss Marjorie, the librarian Mrs. Clark, and Mrs. Higgins, the store owner. All the people who received the letter had ties to an incident from 20 years ago. It was a tragic event involving the mysterious death of a young woman named Evelyn Dorn, whose case had never been solved. Gus's investigation revealed that Evelyn Dorn had been involved with several of the recipients in different ways. Mayor Pemberton had been a close friend, Dr. Whitfield had been her physician, and Miss Marjorie had been her teacher. Mrs. Clark had been a mentor to her, and Mrs. Higgins had employed her briefly in her store. Each had a motive, and each had secrets they wished to keep buried. The breakthrough came when Gus discovered a hidden compartment in Evelyn Dorn's old diary, which had been kept by Mrs. Clark. The compartment contained letters Evelyn had written but never sent. These letters mirrored the style and tone of the threatening letters now terrorizing the town. Gus realized that the current letter writer had access to Evelyn's old writings. Gus's suspicion fell on one person who had a motive for revenge and the means to carry it out: Evelyn's younger sister, Lila Dorn. Lila had left town shortly after Evelyn's death, but recent financial records showed she had returned under a different name. Gus confronted Lila, who eventually confessed to her scheme. Consumed by grief and anger over her sister's death, she had sought to torment those she believed responsible. With Lila's arrest, the town of Elderton began to recover from its ordeal. The letters ceased, and the townsfolk could finally breathe a sigh of relief. Detective Gus Hawthorne, once again, had brought justice and peace to the small town. The puzzle of the poisoned pen remained a dark chapter in Elderton's history, a reminder of how secrets and lies can fester and lead to deadly consequences. As the town returned to its tranquil routine, Gus reflected on the case, knowing that even in the quietest of places, mysteries and dangers can lurk in the shadows. Elderton's story became a cautionary tale, and Gus Hawthorne's name was etched in the town's lore as the detective who solved the puzzle of the poison pin. And so, dear viewers, remember that even in the darkest corners, truth awaits. Trust no one. To watch more videos like this, please click the like button and consider subscribing, and we will see you in the next episode next week.